Okay, rulers, settle down. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get pre-orders of all the upcoming Force of Will sets, as well as releases of previous sets after they come out. ccgprime.com with over 100,000 Force of Will singles, as well as out-of-print boxes from the past, and TCG accessories, as well as fowlibrary.com, a wonderful resource for deck lists, article discussions, and more. Check them out at fowlibrary.com, as well as these amazing patrons. Special thanks to guest lecturer members Fight Ramen and Shukong Fu. Thank you for your support. Class is in session. Hey there, rulers. Welcome back after a long week of Force of Will to your favorite ever live Force of Will podcast, Itch Office Hours, featuring myself, DMO73, and I am joined, as always, by Paul Reisman.
Hey.
And in his new place, Mike Rance. It's a very sharp change in color from white to brown, and apparently,
I like the fake shiplap on the walls. By the way, they're very nice.
It's very nice. Yeah,
it's lovely.
Very good.
Don't mind
very
me
good.
if I mute myself halfway through this while I'm eating dinner.
No worries. No worries. We are glad to have you all here. Action Jackson, welcome. As we get started,
Action Jackson.
As we get started, if you like what we're doing here and you want to consider supporting the channel, be sure to click that join button down below. It is essentially the same as a Twitch Prime subscription. It's just YouTube's version of it. Gets you access to the emotes and all kinds of other cool stuff, and helps to go to support the channel, and we appreciate it. But that being said, we're glad to be jumping in, and boy howdy do we have a lot to talk about in terms of news and happenings and wild speculation and all kinds of stuff. So we're going to get through the easy stuff quickly at the beginning. We're going to start with, we have two new monthly promos that have just been announced. They were announced today. We have the Wish of Quenched Fires, which is currently on screen. Gorgeous. As much as I love that the Witch of Quenched Fires was done by Wednesday, who is my favorite FOW artist, this artwork is not done by Wednesday, but so good.
This art for this Fire Witch is pretty hot.
Yeah, for sure. This is really sick. I love the artwork of it. I like that this makes me think that the other witches, like, we might see other promos of the other witches, which I would be totally fine with.
Please.
Please. No. The Witch of the Fallen Kingdom promo, that's in my binder, currently sitting at $100 a piece. So like, the Chinese ones.
Okay, that doesn't count. But first of all,
so if they needed it, if you need a Witch of the Fallen Kingdom promo, you know who you talk to. That being said, hey, love to see all these people in the chat. Glad to have you here. I will remind, I think some people like Roderick and a couple other people, maybe you're, if you didn't already realize that your membership has expired, it doesn't necessarily auto-update, so just check that out if you haven't already. Next up, we have Blessings of Yggdrasil, which is a beautiful card. It's a very cool card, staple in like decks, you know, singleton formats like Genesis or Epic Stories. And it's really cool to see it coming back as a promo, you know, an easy to get promo, because it's not necessarily the easiest card to get for people who might be interested in playing Wanderer. And it does have some Wanderer implications.
It had. We'll say.
Well, yeah, had some Wanderer implications, and now we have Trishula and like
Rip Carlina.
Yeah, rip Carlina. Yeah, for sure. But still, beautiful artwork, absolutely gorgeous card. Love to see it happen. So
I love the idea of Blessing Yggdrasil, because it's like, that's a card that you're going to use in like your big combo decks, like your Arla combos, and you're going to see like really interesting decks trying to do it. And now that we don't have, well, we're going to get to that later, but now we don't have a certain stone that you always get off of Blessing of Yggdrasil, now we're starting to see some little here and there kind of stuff, you know?
And this is continuing the trend of the Wanderer League promos just being like good Wanderer cards, like that are well worth your time to pick up, even if, like, for those of you who maybe don't have it, but then it's nice for those of us who do have it to have this nice little piece of artwork. It's very nice and continues a really, like, Look of Corruption was insanely good for them to reprint. Loki's Insight was insanely good for them to print as a Wanderer staple. Like, really good. Lorite was really good. Like, these continuous Wanderer staples actually getting promo variants is really sick. I don't think I have anything else in regards to the promos. So let's jump into that next piece, Mike, which is the ban list got updated for the third time in a year. The Wanderer ban list got updated.
Insane, going from 3 times in a year to 0 times in 2 years. Like, absolutely fucking 100%.
Yeah.
Infinity % ROI right there. Let's go.
Yeah, so let's talk about what was recently changed. We lost in Wanderer. What got unbanned was spinning myths. And they talked about how the explanation for it, which I really do like, that they're like putting the paragraph explanation for it, even with the cards that they're taking off the ban list. That's really nice to kind of see what they're thinking there. The idea was that like paying 3 to put in a myth when we don't have like these when decks aren't just hyper aggressive cancel wars anymore and are still competitive, suddenly takes a lot of the strength away from spinning myths, because the biggest problem with spinning myths was it was such an overpowering card because nothing could keep up with the cancels. But now like decks can actually just play through it, so letting wind have another win condition avenue that's not just Prisia chaining in Wanderer seems okay. And
this
so
is something that actually is tending to mirror what we did when we were running Conqueror before Wanderer kind of merged into like an actual supported format, where we unbanned spinning myths. We thought because we had we nerfed Divinity down a lot, we thought that would be the reason that would be fine. It turns out the card is just like the argument was that if Heroic Tale, Heroic Epic was at 4 and able to be played, and you're able to just cheat something in, most of the things that you cheat in have enter effects and swiftness, that just kind of like makes the thing happen there. Why is the card that does the same thing but in a more narrow implication with slight upsides better in that regard? And at the same time, it's like we banned Carlina, so it's a 3 mana card that actually has to be played on your turn 2 to 3 and not just like, oh hey, turn 1
for sure. It's definitely a card that, because of previous changes, is now definitely considerable to be removed. Which is cool. It's good to see back. I'm gonna go play Spinning Myths Prisia again. I'm gonna just go play that again and have a great time.
Relive your old school days.
Hey man, it got me an invite to Worlds, so I can now play that deck again in Wanderer.
Yep,
I'll take it.
Absolutely.
So the other cards that were put on the ban list was Magic Stone of the Sixth Age, which we'll come back to that in a second, and the other card being Electo. I'm really glad that Electo got hit. I'm almost more glad that Electo got hit than Six Sage Stone. I am glad that Six Sage Stone got hit, don't get me wrong, but I'm more glad about Electo because Blue Violet, with the consistency of how easy it is to just like continually free draw cards at instant speed on your opponent's turn, like it's just, you just get a single Electo, heaven forbid 2, and your opponent's just like, I guess I just don't get to play Force of Will now. And it's incredibly consistent, and it's incredibly oppressive in the environment. So it was very, very good to see that gone. Even without tournament data, it was good to see that card gone. Because people who have been testing Wanderer will all attest that Blue Violet was a pain in the butt.
Turns out free bodies that discard cards and sack things are pretty okay.
Yeah, really good.
When you have Adam Brawley too.
Yeah. So the other thing that we had, so to talk about Six Sage Stone, I think part of they talk about in the article, part of the justification for why Six Sage Stone was banned, even with Carlina and Feetsing already gone, was the first couple turn pressure that Six Sage Stone helped to create from rulers getting that earlier flip, which in the Wanderer environment created this really weird situation where if a deck might have an answer to an aggressive ruler. However, Six Sage Stone let the aggressive ruler get its aggression off faster, which meant that the answer deck had to have 6 Sage Stone to be able to have the answers. So this creates a problem dynamic, right? Where sometimes just the luck of the stones makes it unplayable. So by getting rid of the ability to have that early pressure flip as conveniently, as comfortably in getting rid of 6 Sage Stone. Wow, people going nuts at Mike's house. Then
they're happy 6 Sage Stone is banned.
they're happy 6 Sage Stone is banned. Yes, this is great. Mike's gonna mute himself. Someone's dying. It's okay. By taking out 6 Sage Stone so that your decks don't have some of these rulers don't have like super early flip stuff, then suddenly the decks that have answers to them don't have to feel so dependent on their stones to be able to stay in the game. And overall, it just creates a much more healthy environment with just less abusable situations in the early turns, which I really like. I really like that a lot. Paul, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I think it just future-proofs Wanderer format. It's the best card ever printed for stone decks, and even the Post admitted that. They're like, this is the best stone ever printed. So right now it's just a little bit too good, and I think it's really helpful for newer players getting into Wanderer. I know it's ECG Prime, the store. Folks not being able to get that and people realizing it's on the ban list were super pumped because they're like, cool, now I don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I can just play Moonshades or whatever, all these significantly cheaper cards
Yeah,
are now
for sure.
available to us.
Yeah,
so it's
really
good
nice.
for the player base, it's good for competitive, it's amazing.
And certainly
Hands
like
down.
certainly 6 Sage Stone still has a place in like the singleton formats like Epic Stories or Genesis, like because you're only playing one. So like I tell people, like I'll be downsizing, like I'll probably be downsizing down to 2 play sets instead of the 3 that I have, and just helping someone who never was able to get them. But like some people are like, oh, I'm just gonna immediately sell them. Like I think it's a stone that's worth holding on to. Just
Probably worth holding on
like,
to 1 or 2.
like a single playset of it if you've got it. But like there's really no need to hoard them anymore.
To be fair, we do have a bunch of New Frontiers tournaments coming up, and that card
That's true. That's true. Which is why I'm saying don't get rid of your playset if you have keep your at least one. But yeah, like Paul was saying, it definitely future proofs. It future proofs the era of Wanderer a lot. It also future proofs Wanderer from the perspective of the there's a couple of things that it does. It future-proofs Wanderer in the form of the dual cluster rulers not being able to have not only 4 6 Sage Stone, but also having 4 Ataroctius Memoria. So they just have 8 3+ color stones that they're like, yeah, this is fine, which I could see being a problem. But also with getting rid of 6 Sage Stone in Wanderer, the dual cluster rulers actually, I think, kind of like that, because when they go to the Wanderer environment, it's not, oh, I didn't hit 6 Sage Stone on 1, I'm screwed, right? Like, they can actually afford to, like, wait a couple turns to have to pop off an order, because that's a big part of New Frontiers right now with the order rulers, right? Is, like, if you can't order on 1 because your opponent might hit 6 Sage Stone, you're going to feel real bad. But if my opponent can't hit 6 Sage Stone either, great, that's good. And also it does take some of the wind out of Tag's sails, like more so the 6 Sages than Fallen necessarily. But also
the only one that really got affected by it was like Asmodeus.
Yeah, some of that's kind of stuff, which is like but also I would argue that in the Wanderer format, the Fallen Angels aren't like, they're good, but they certainly have more things that can put a stop to them than in New Frontiers did. But taking some of the wind out of the 6 Sages' sails by just not letting them have 6 Sage Stone anymore is nice. It's very, very nice.
Almerius Moonshard is still a very, very good deck in Wanderer with these new hits.
Yeah. Asmodeus is, Not saying suddenly unplayable, just saying like it takes some wind out of
a lot of matchups.
Yeah, it takes some of the wind out of their sails, which is like, okay, that's fine. It doesn't just make Wanderer play Tag or not. Like,
are you playing Moonshard and another ruler? No? Okay. Guess you're not playing the game then, huh?
Yeah. That's not the case with 6 Sage Stone being banned. It eliminates that problem, which is nice.
Tag rules are already better than regular rulers. No need to make them You take them from being like here compared to the single rulers.
Yeah, like here to here versus like yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot more
Hola!
beautiful.
What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Hello.
Being
Aloha.
said, it equalizes things for dual cluster rulers, but it also hurts dual cluster rulers in the sense that they don't get to just order on turn 1 anymore if you hit 6 H-Stone. So
you're gonna have to build them differently for sure.
very differently. Ragstone becomes, I think, a little bit more important for those decks.
At least as a one of.
Because as a one of at the very least, and he'll have lessons to give you Yggdrasil now, so you can just grab it off the top if you want to.
But then the other thing too is like in current New Frontiers, the big risk that everyone says of playing a Ragstone in a dual cluster deck is what if your opponent hits 6 H-Stone on 1 and you have Ragstone? Again, my opponent can't hit 6 H-Stone on 1 in Wanderer, so if I hit Ragstone on 1, okay. Right? So it creates a different dynamic, and the deck builds have to be different, and A plus.
Good job.
But we also want to talk about beyond the cards themselves being hit. Let's talk about the fact that this is for the longest time in talking about New Frontiers ban lists. The language has always been, we need data, we need data, we need data. This is, I mean, even back as far as in the Jeff era, right? Even in the Jeff era, it was, we need data, we need data, we need data, right? This is the third ban list in a year of a card that is in New Frontiers being proactively banned out of Wanderer before it's done with its time in New Frontiers. With, like, no tournament data at all. And so, just people in the community probably reporting like they're testing or doing something else, right? And so I'd like to talk a little bit about your guys' thoughts about what that could mean. Because I have some thoughts, but I'm curious what you guys think and what the chat thinks about that too. Because that's a big shift.
Yeah, honestly, it's just like once you get a certain amount of user feedback to your game, you realize that like changes have to be made. And it's like you can have all like the 4-man, 5-man, 8-man Wanderer tournament data that you want. You can have all the Italians playing this, and the Germans playing this, and the Spanish community playing this. It's not going to matter if it's not a large-scale thing. And once you have people playing casually, talking about game feel and experience, even in like a small like local store tournament, reporting that, hey, maybe Electo is a little bit of an issue when we're trying to get people to play this game, and nobody wants to play it because my opponent just summoned their 15th fucking Electo, and my hand is now gone. And it's like, yeah, man, that's what you want to do. You want to... Wanderer is an eternal format. It's not as widely played, and it's not as widely supported the way that New Frontiers is. They don't design for Wanderer. They design for New Frontiers, and they just get kind of... Wanderer as a format gets bodied by the constant power creep that they need to keep up with. So having the user data and having the amount of player feedback, even on new cards, that makes a huge difference. Like in New Frontiers, you can't ban a new card because it's just like
it just came out.
How the hell do we sell product if we can't play this card that literally everybody and their mother is going paying $180 for a box of MSW for the chance of pulling 2 6 Stones because that gets your money back.
Right.
Now you don't have to do that. Now it's like, all right, cool. If I want to play Wanderer, I don't have to break the bank to try and get the most powerful stone in the entire game. It's banned.
Yeah.
If I want to play New Frontiers, it's the reason that I've been focusing so hard on Wanderer compared to New Frontiers. I'm not a New Frontiers player. I've always preferred Wanderer. Now that we're seeing some actual support for it, now that we see the ban list being updated for it, I'm putting my efforts into it. I haven't been to a competitive tournament in like a while because I got my invite and I can't really get out to these tournaments or play in these tournaments as much as I used to. But I can still play Wanderer casually.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Paul, what about you?
Well, on one hand, it seems to me that Force of Will is aware of the data, right? So, like, as far as, like, are these folks responding to data or not? I think they are. We've had 6 Sage Stone and Electo for relatively long periods of time. The fact that Spinning Myths as a card is coming off the ban list shows us that they don't think this card is super powerful anymore
Which is not.
in regard to the myths that we have in the game. But I think the bigger and more subtle shift that we're seeing is that the Force of Will Company, I Spy's R&D department is actually putting money into the idea of what if Wanderer was a legitimate thing, right? We're actually going to think about this.
Yeah.
What if Wanderer was good?
Wanderer.
Said we
it's our favorite anime meme. Wanderer format.
You just saw senpai.
Wanderer senpai.
Wanderer senpai. Like if the company is like, okay, we're actually going to take Wanderers seriously to such a degree that we're going to, move things around on the ban list and do so in such a way that people can actually start to get a sense of we're having a rapport with you.
Yeah.
By the way that we're shifting cards.
Even if it's not a
really good sign.
Even if it's not necessarily an internal R&D doing a bunch of the work, even if it's that group of people who would have a say over the ban list actively listening to those of us who are talking to them, right, and making changes. Because, like, I know there's the European Wanderer ban list committee. I know that Spain is heavily involved in doing a lot of Wanderer testing and really wants Alejandro and his crew, right? And there are those of us.
True.
There are those of us in different parts of the world who do have connections with the company and are sending feedback in. But, like, this makes me think that feedback is being heard and, like, being acted on, right? Which is nice, and hopefully it's being backed up by their own internal stuff, and they're like recognizing, yeah, we can do our own work inside to see what happens too. But even if they're responding to what we are sharing with them, that's a really good shift.
Spoiler, they hired an intern to just goldfish Wanderer decks, but
best job ever.
Yeah, I do want to quickly hit a comment here. Action Jackson, you can't order a card if your Resonator called Stone on turn 1. Is it because the ruler is rested? Yes, you can only order if your ruler is recovered. So 6 Sage Stone was great because you could call Stone, hit 6 Sage Stone, recover, order. So it's also why a lot of order rulers will use their coin on turn 1 to order, so then they can call Stone after ordering. That's
because you can't do that.
Because you can do that. But we don't have, with 6 Sage Stone going, you can be able to do it. Roderick, I'm also interested to see, Roderick says in the chat, there's a lot of concerns I have with the game right now, but the consistent Wanderer housekeeping is a sign that they are cognizant. I'd be interested to hear what those thoughts are about what you're concerned about. Because again, that's interesting to hear and perspective that we can give in.
Mailbag day.
Yeah.
Roderick's thoughts. The mailbag day.
The mailbag day.
I don't know if you're talking, but what final point?
Yeah.
So the company is not contacting the community directly through the global liaison anymore, but it is still connecting to the community, which I think is also a subtle point that people need to realize. Like, we're not, like, Ruler School has not just got a hard line to the company. It's several people across the world who are offering feedback.
Yep.
So the communication is happening. It's just not very direct. But there are advocates all around the world who are advocating for the game and the player base.
So
Alejandro and I had a conversation about the ban list literally about 4 hours before the ban list got posted. Like, we were already talking about it and like talking about sharing some information to points up and stuff like that.
So here's something interesting. I feel like Forceful's been doing a very good job, I Spy in particular in this case, but like the game as itself, has been doing a really good job of establishing kind of like a two-pronged attack at this point.
Continue.
Because we've been seeing, these recent sets have been compartmentalized to where you can buy a set and you can play that set only, and it'll have a functioning deck, no problem at all. But obviously, if you're playing for New Frontiers, you kind of expand out. Once you start at one part, you kind of expand it on and keep bringing it up. That's really good for new players.
Right.
That's for players that are coming into the game, don't know a lot about it, don't have a lot of cards, but want to be able to play in that New Frontiers format. With them upkeeping on the Wanderer ban list, they're really taking a lot of respect to older players.
Yeah,
players who love the non-rotating formats. Because I know a lot of Magic the Gathering players who despise rotating formats.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot stand it, will not play Standard. diehard fans of modern, diehard fans of vintage, and I know a couple of guys who are total masochists who play old school, where you have to pay through the nose to get your playset of whatever fucking mocks you want to play. And like
Power nines.
Power Nines, baby, let's go. But it's just like having that kind of cognitive just kind of divide there, but letting it marry itself to where, you know, you can print really powerful cards for the new players that want to just play whatever's in standard right now.
Yeah.
Just get as much in as they can, combo off, play their Carlina, play their big idiot on turn one, and just go. But then it's just like, hey, this card's a little bit too powerful for a non-rotating format because we can't just rotate it out at the end of it.
Right.
So let's ban it out of there. Here you go, old school players. You want to play something that isn't just Carlina Bloody Moon turn one, you can't play the goddamn game. That's it.
I mean, that combo's awful, but
That combo is awful.
you
But-
you and I tested it. It's bad.
I know. We tested the better version of that deck.
Hey, but I will also say the other thing too to that point. Patrick Ogrins, welcome to Alumni, buddy. You can pick up your syllabus and report to class. I do want to say, it may sound like I have a grocery list of grievances or something, but it's really a couple points that admitted have been part of or not part of Faust's history. That's fair. So I will say this. In the sets, if you look at... I want to talk about Game of Gods, because the cluster has done two things very, very cool. I think almost better than any Fow cluster has ever done. And that's, in all honesty, with the new order mechanic and the way that the draft ruler is designed, honestly created two of the best back-to-back like limited environments that I've ever played in Force of Will's history. Like legitimately fun to both seal and draft, which is pretty cool. And like a lot of variety. Like if you guys remember Alice Origins was like all of Alice Origins was like, hey, everyone's gonna have the same deck, have a good time. It's all the same color. Saga Cluster, I would argue, was like okay, but had a lot of pull this card, win, right? Pull this card, win. Like the 7th was, oh, how many Castle of Belials do you have? Do you have 3? Oh, the game's over? Great. You know,
Did it.
Both of these pre-releases have felt very diverse in terms of what you could build. They felt very fresh. They feel different than New Frontiers because like we don't have Force Resonance. We still have to tap our ruler to call stone, but we still get to do the revolution effects. We can play villains and tails together. Like the limited environment feels a lot better, and it's also not so archetype driven. That was a big problem with Dual Cluster or Saga Cluster as well, right? It was like the Assault into the Demonic World was awful in terms of a pre-release environment. It was like, I didn't pull any Demonic Worlds and my opponent pulled 4. Guess the game's over, right? This has felt more like flexible, which has been nice. The second thing is incidental Wanderer support has been really prevalent in Game of Gods and Game of Gods Reloaded. Like cards that are like, yeah, I'd play this in a Wanderer deck. Or like, oh, this is making me think about this older ruler a little bit more. Like, things like that in so much more of a present way than previous clusters, is awesome. I think it's really well done. And then with the Wanderer ban list updates, like Mike said, it feels like we're finally hitting this 2-prong approach where it's not just about the new players, it's also about the returning old guarders, and we genuinely want to give you multiple different ways to play Force of Will and have a good time and have a different experience in each of those times, which is, I mean, that's how you really get people engaged, is you give them multiple ways to play that all feel good. And I think that they're doing a really good job with that lately. I mean, obviously you could debate in terms of like, some people don't like the power level of it, or it doesn't feel as, it's faster than it feels more quicker to get to the meat and potatoes than old Fow was. Like, I get it, right? I can understand the tempo arguments. But at its core, in terms of construction, I think that they're really knocking it out of the park. Hi, Travis. Good to see you back. Gonna hose everyone at the online GPs with Mikage. Great. People sleeping on Bigage.
2-0. That's why I had to rotate it so early.
Yeah, it's how they had to rotate it. So we'll get to that in a second. I do want to say, speaking of tournaments, in the link in the description below, there are 2 tournaments next month. There is the Cartomagica Gp, which is open to international players. You can check the link in the description to go check that out. And it has been they posted on the website what the metal prize cards look like. And like, dang, they actually look really nice. Like the metal orders look really, really nice.
Ooh, metal orders.
Metal orders, yeah, look really, really, really nice. So
maybe I need to join in a tournament and use all 5 of my cards that I have.
I believe in you. Just play Wanderer. Play Wanderer.
I can play Wanderer. I know how to do that. Wait.
So then the next
Stone Bannon, so is Carlina. What do I do? Anyway.
So then the other immediately following that is the Games and Geek online webcam GP, which you can check the link in the description to go sign up for that as well. Registration for that is up right now. So be sure to get signed up for those. Help to support the game. Help to support those tournament organizers. We really want to get good attendance at these. We will be streaming them. If you can't participate, we will be streaming them with commentary and everything here. Although I will remind you again that the chats during those events are locked to members only. So if you want to be able to talk with us or ask questions or anything during the events, you'll have to be sure to be a member. The video itself will never be paywalled. We don't do that. Just the chat function during GPs.
Pay to pray.
Newer cards can definitely help out older cards. Yep, for sure. Pay to pray. What does Mike try and play in the Wanderer GP? Hold on, I'll make a Wanderer GP. I'll make a poll. Hold on.
Please do. Okay.
Give me some options, Mike. Give me 3 options.
Well, okay. So apparently, Adelbert Wanderer control is going to be on there. First of all, that deck slaps.
Okay, I'm doing Shion, Adelbert, Wanderer control, and Prissy.
Rabbit Tribal. Yeah, thank you, Patrick. Let's go.
And Prissy a basket.
Old school Yggdrasil. Oh man, you're speaking my language now.
Okay, okay, there we go. Ask the community. The chat is. The question has been posed. We have until to see what happens at the end of this. See what happens at the end of the poll.
Oh, you just tossed Shion on there?
I did. Shion, Adelbert, Wanderer control, Prissy a basket, or old school Yig.
Right.
So yeah,
I want to see more options come in though.
Playset of Academy guards tonight that we're going to give away. Thank you very much, Dan. So we'll give those away in a little bit. Okay, so we have. Let's see. We've talked about the ban list. We talked about what the ban list kind of indicates. We talked about the GPs. We talked about. This can kind of lead into it. Mike has not had a pre-release yet, but Paul and I have both played in 2 separate pre-releases. Too much to type here. New player orientation has been hard. Dedicated digital client for the game would alleviate most of it. We actually have members of the community working on a dedicated digital client, but the guys over at Force of Wind Online are doing some great work. They just have to build the deck builder for it. It's like stages, right? So hopefully sometime we get there for sure. So let's talk about the pre-release environment. Paul, what did you end up playing? How did you end up doing? And what was your experience like?
Well, I got my packs.
Yep.
And I cracked them.
Well, by the way, I will say to the community, Paul is notorious for pulling awful at pre-releases.
Hey, me too!
It is my least favorite format in any card game.
It's true.
It is terrible. However, I saw that I got a Phantom Beastmaster. Another Phantom Beastmaster. Oh, and look, and my full art is a Alter Beastmaster. That's great. Oh, look at this. IU Smile. 2 of them. Interesting. A Blue Soldier. A Virgil. Okay, I guess I'm playing white. And it felt good. I had a couple of Regalia cards in the Deep Blue Soldier. I had the one Alice enters the Game of Gods, so I could get like more Regalia. And then a lot of it was just me being super hyper on coffee and not understanding how cards work. But I ended up winning the whole thing.
Ew. Well done.
So there's a direct correlation between my level of caffeinatedness and winning Force of Will tournaments.
Good to know. Good to know. Did you see in the decks that you played against? Did you have a lot of variety in terms of what people were like, what play lines you saw, or how people were approaching it?
Yeah. Well, one Cthulhu Bug, the blue Cthulhu Bug is amazing.
Yes.
The one drop Cthulhu thing that
Chimeric
has
Beast.
swiftness, precision.
Yeah.
Oh my god, swiftness, precision, bane.
Repeatable.
Bring it back whenever you want. That's super ridiculous. Dan is talking about how I 2-0'd him because he was playing Dinner Time into Mimi's turn 1, which was kind of funny. But of course I had board removal, so that was easy enough to deal with. Easily, like, white was like the best color, just hands down, which is weird.
Yeah.
You just say, like, white being the best color for the first time in, like, ever is kind of nuts.
Yeah, my experience was my first pack I opened up in Amadeus. My second pack I opened a Dark Alice, and I went, okay.
I got some playing these.
And then I proceeded to open up like a really heavy dark package. I had like multiple dark spheres. I had both the Chimeric Beast and the Bug. So I'm kind of I kind of went the opposite direction. You went really heavy light. I had a splash of white, but I was really heavy in the darkness category. And then also I also had Agni and Rudra. I had them both. So I played them both.
Super good.
The limited in format in terms of like early removal from this set is not great. Like there's not a lot of like it's great in the sense that there's not a lot of cards that put down a lot of early pressure because we don't have a lot of there's like no swiftness dudes in this set outside of the little Chimera 1-drop dude. But the to complement that, there's not a lot of super early removal. So like my last match of game 3, or my last game of round 3, I coin, filter, green, order Rudra, call stone, filter, play Agony, pass. I'm just like, I think this is just lethal. I think it's just lethal. And it was. It was just lethal. Those were the only cards I played that game. But like we also the other undefeated at ours was Paul Clute, who went undefeated using a dark and blue package because Lancelot is just a 1-drop removal spell. He was like, I was thinking of Lancelot as a 3-drop body. I wasn't thinking him of what he actually is, a 1-drop removal spell. I was like, yeah, that's true. He's a 1-drop removal spell. So there was a lot of flexibility in the environment. It was a lot of fun. I hope they keep it up. I absolutely hope this kind of trend keeps up. We're drafting it. We're going to be live streaming a draft tomorrow where we're going to draft, or sorry, not tomorrow. We're going to live stream a draft on Wednesday where we are going to do 2 packs of Game of Gods 1 and 2 packs of Game of Gods Reloaded for part of our draft. So I'm very interested to see what that environment is going to be like. I think it could be very, very fun. Hyperfocus sets hurt limited a bit. Draft might have been better. I think we'll see on Wednesday.
Dan and I talked about this. Dan and I talked about this a little bit. I think this is a little bit better. We were comparing to ADW a little bit because we were noticing in that was like one of our first limited sealed events at CCG Prime.
Yeah,
and that set just hurt to play sealed because you'd either get a whole bunch of atoms or you'd get like poopy atoms and some other stuff that wouldn't work together,
right?
Like demonic worlds and stuff. This set was a little bit more like that than the last, I would say. But the fact that they sort of designed things in such a way that things were a little bit more helpful across like different kinds of decks. So like the dark spheres aren't super great on their own, but the fact that you could like flip into a J ruler and have something that has precision or bane or drain or something like that was just really helpful.
Yeah.
Compared to like demonic worlds and such. So it's definitely more in that line. I would say that it's okay.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
that way. It
For sure.
could be better, but it's not awful.
Do Regalia tokens trigger Regalia rulers? Yes. because they are technically the Regalia type card. So that's a thing.
So what you're saying is
That's interesting.
play Faria
and play 4 copies of Alice Enters the Game of Gods.
Either blank a thing or make a Regalia draw a card.
I don't hate that. I kind of like it. Kind of like it a lot. Okay, I'm feeling you.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Okay, so let's talk about the biggest news of the night, which is, according to the Germany Post, the Force of Will the Germany Force of Will page's post. It seems all but confirmed that Dual Cluster is only going to be 3 sets. We speculated on the language of a previous German post a few weeks ago, and speculated that, like, what would those rulers be? What would it be like? But now it seems all confirmed. So with that in mind, Mike, with the idea, what are your thoughts about this idea of this cluster only being 3 sets big?
Honestly, I'm totally okay with it.
Go on.
I personally haven't been a huge fan of the Order Rulers in terms of what they've kind of done to deck building, in my opinion.
Sure.
I personally prefer the idea of having a dedicated J ruler as kind of the end game. It feels very much like the Order Rulers play out the way that rulers have kind of played out for a while, where your J ruler isn't your win condition like it used to be, which was always fun to have, like that idea of like you play out the game, you go into the mid game, you go to flip, and then it's like that's where the big pressure to end the game starts. There's no real conversion point to the game when it comes to the Order Rulers, which is something that I don't like from a game field perspective. I appreciate what the designs mean, but I'm glad that they're only doing 3 sets.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the way that the whole cluster was designed is honestly well suited to a smaller cluster, just like a little, like the cluster feels like a Vingolf. It feels like everybody's just kind of in having a good time playing the game of gods, and it's like it doesn't feel like a story driven set, in my opinion. It
Sure.
feels very much like a here's Timmy playing with his Tonka trucks and just and
That's
fair. It's kind of what it is. And I do appreciate the fact that they did what they did and they changed things up and they shook things up a little bit. But I do really hope we go back to seeing J rulers, because I was personally speaking, I was disappointed that we didn't get to play Valhalla again with J rulers, because the original Valhalla J rulers are so cool in terms of their designs, and so cool that like it's like you're just kind of playing at a deck and it's like, all right, cool, I'm gonna flip over my 15/15 Odin and he's gonna do a thing. He's a big boy, and now I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna flip over my Odin on the horse and he's gonna go to this, and now suddenly one of my dudes on the field is big. It's just like, I don't know, it feels anticlimactic to me for a very climactic focused set.
Sure. I think that there's a piece of it that's like, I think given the lore of Fow's history and given the characters that we're seeing being pulled back in, a 3-set cluster makes logical sense, because there were only 10 high gods. So how do, like, were we just gonna have a 4th set? Like, it made me be like, please no 4th set with no rulers. Please don't make a cluster set with no rulers.
MOA, baby, let's go.
We don't need it. We don't need it. So like in my, and I told people to pre-release this, like I hot take, feel I could totally be wrong. I have no information whatsoever about the next set. I predict that, my prediction is that next set, well, obviously we know Genshi Tenshon and Athenia, that the last 2 high gods. But I think the last 2 rulers are going to be Charlotte and Dark Charlotte for rulers 3 and 4.
I can see it.
You the idea that they would just like they built Charlotte up for like multiple sets with her like inheriting the power of the seventh, and it's so much that it breaks her and like she gets split in half, and now we have this dark half. Like the fact that they would do all of that driving up to just be like, yeah, 2 super rares, then we're done. I'm like, no, like I know Fow, this is building to something. So I think that next set is going to be those 4, which is fine because then it's like, okay, we had the 10, we have 2 new cool characters to round it out, so all the sets had an equal number of rulers, but that's as far as we're trying to stretch it. Let's move on to a new cluster. I'm totally down fine with that. It makes a lot of logical sense.
I just want new characters to
That's fair.
attach myself to.
That's fair.
And then just get my heart ripped out when they die. I'm so happy that Tidor is a card. He's so rad, and he's such a cool design philosophy.
Let's go to his world next.
He's so not Foul, and I want to be transported to the future with him. I want to see what the machines do. I want to see what like future Foul with none of these old cards do anymore.
Let's go to the future.
Tidor cluster. I want to see Time cluster. I want to see Delorious cluster. I want everybody driving cars. Let's go.
Let's go.
Ride on cars.
Paul,
Like
thoughts?
that's so cool. Like everybody loved Tidor when he was designed. He's unplayable. He's a 3-cost 9/9. He's got a revolution effect, so you only could play him in these decks, which is another thing I did not like so much about the dual cluster side of things, because it felt like you were very much locked into whatever rule you were doing, and you get the bonus effects, and if you're playing Tidor, you're like, all right, cool, if I'm going to play Tidor in this, if I'm going to play Tidor in Shion, I'm just drawing cards. That's garbage, because Shion already draws infinite cards forever. So what I want to see cards that can be used everywhere, all over the place. I wanted Tidor not tied to Revolution. If they just printed fucking Laboratory Maniac on a 3-drop in Foul, I would have come. But I didn't get that. So all I got was just
censor that.
anyway. Sorry getting you demonetized, Jeremy. Anyway,
yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
But like I just want it's something that I would love. He's a time walk, a lab maniac, and an end of turn and a start turn draw trigger on a 3-drop 9/9 for blue. Like, if his abilities were not tied to Revolution and Force Resonance in any way, shape, or form, he would have been so sick, and I would have picked up 4 copies of him full art, guaranteed. I can't do that.
Going to Paul.
Well, someone figured out how to stop the loop, so we don't just go to an automatic game loss. I'm happy about that. Oh my gosh. Whoa. I'm trying to remember the initial question. I am okay with this. I actually really like the Order Rulers mechanic because it just diversifies the J Ruler aspect of the game even more. And it makes you turn other characters into J Rulers, which I think is kind of cool from like a flavor perspective. From a mechanics perspective, I think Order Rulers are really going to be difficult to play when we don't have 6H Stone because of rotation.
At least how they're being built. At least how they're being built now.
Yeah, so they're currently being built right now. But we're also losing Ragstone, so I'm like, okay, these things are going to age fast. So
that's true.
Aging like milk.
So having a 3 cluster, having a 3-set cluster. Yeah.
But on the other hand, if we consider like when a 3rd set of this cluster would come out, it seems like that would be like summer. And that would kind of put us back into like the whole framework of you get a new cluster in the fall, and then we just go forward from there.
Because it used to be first week of September. It used to be first week of September or first week of October.
Yeah.
And then it's
that got pushed back like way far.
It's now end of November. It's been end of November since even before COVID. It was shifted to like end of November was when a new cluster was going to come out.
Yeah, it was. So that feels weird, but I'm glad we're actually like moving the clock back a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it always feels good to like start fresh, new in the fall, just in general. So like having a new set come out then and have it be a completely new cluster with new mechanics is like. Great. Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. Makes me wonder if we're gonna get any kind of limited product. I think we probably will. We always have had. There's only been 1 year that we've never had a limited product. So I imagine, or some
rebirth of Legends.
Rebirth. Once rotation happens, then the game will just slow down as long as they don't have another power spike set like Saga. Well, yeah, that's true. That is a good point, iFizz. With like losing 6H
That's
Stone,
really true.
which losing 6H Stone and Ragnarok going into a New Frontiers with the Saga cluster rulers, based on what they presented, actually could pretty significantly shift to maybe New Frontiers feels like OG New Frontiers, where like the first 2 turns we're starting to get into like build up and set up and stuff like before, rather than super aggressive early on. Quickly to answer some other questions. Vampire, would your opinion be if an Order ruler came out whose the main purpose is to sacrifice their J ruler for benefits? That's called Loki. Currently exists. Loki's whole mechanic is having your own J rulers die. So that's the thing. Going up, there was another question that you asked. With Game of Gods released finally in, what decks do you think will be fun to see experimented on with the new supports? Where in the table do you think the new rulers will fit? I think they're all going to be exciting to experiment with, except for Shiva. I'm not interested. I mean, like, I am not looking forward to building Shiva personally. That will probably be a deck that I hope that either Paul will have something crazy to do, or one of the people at my locals will build, and I'll be able to show off their version of Shiva for you. I've never been very much of a aggressive or go wide deck player. And if I'm not and for those of you who are like, well, Shiva can just play combo control. If I wanted to play combo control, I would play Kagyo or Feethmooge. So, that's my position on the new rulers anyway. I'm also really excited to take the new stuff and play Loki. I've already jammed some games today of like tweaking Loki with the new stuff, and looks like hold up, Ramp Imul just got Smile. Yeah, you can play Ramp Imul. That's a thing.
Let me make sure I'm not reading this card wrong. Draw card gains.
Pyro, you judgment Shion, and Shion looks at the top, and if it's a cost 5 or lower,
she cheats.
You can just play it into the field.
Yeah, she cheats it in.
Or you just drop a Humpty Dumpty, pay blue, and then you put the top Yamato of your deck onto the field, and then you just go bah, 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 and that's how you play the game.
Yeah.
It's been such a long time since I've Shion into Celestial Wing Seraph into Lucifer. It's been so long.
You can do that.
So
you could do that in Wanderer. Yep, you could do it in Wanderer. Now you
yeah,
can do
it just feels bad.
Yeah, it's fair. There are better things.
It does not feel impactful.
There are better things to flip into.
However, we have this little blue card that says your opponent cannot chase your crap.
Please don't mention Carlina with Dinner Time and 6H Stone. You people don't recognize that casting a spell with Carlina means you can't cast any other spells. So playing I'm going to produce will for this turn in Carlina is terrible. Stop doing it. Someone else was like, I'm going to do Carlina. I'm going to make 3 will and play. I'm going to play Dinner Time and then play Garion. No, you're not. You've already cast Dinner Time. It's your 1 spell for turn. Dan.
But Jeremy. But
Mike.
I'm going to play my Class G's tank on turn 2.
Okay.
I'm going to Dinner Time.
Okay.
Like Carlina.
Okay.
And use the effect to rest target J Resonator. And I'm going to lose the game.
In New Frontiers, that wouldn't work. Dinner Time is not a playable card in Carlina.
New Frontiers, Wanderay has a thing and is getting ban list updates. I'm over the moon, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Someone's saying I think we need a yearbook on Shion. Paul. Shion.
Talk to Joey Pitch.
To the top of the list.
Talk to Joey Pitchon. He's our local mega Shion shill. He can help you write that in.
There is some good stuff in this set for Shion, right? Especially considering the fact that like she always gets to peek at the top card, which is very nice. And also,
Machina can't do that. Machina's trash.
Machina has to lock it behind an order, right? But then the other thing to note about her is with this card specifically, Light of the Unknown isn't locked behind Revolution or Force Resonance at all with Shion, which is crazy. And then also, this produces will even if you whiff. So, like, if you have a 3-drop in your hand that you really want to cast, you can just call the name of that 3-drop that's in your hand and then cast it.
Just call Blue Eyes White Dragon. Just do
Yeah,
it.
do it. Just call
Do
Blue
it.
Eyes White. You literally, yeah.
Powerful Dragon of
Just
Destruction
name a card. It doesn't
has
say
made
name
it
a
so
force
that
will
no
card.
one faces
It
I
does
the
say
chance to tell
name
to.
a card. You could call Exodia the Forbidden One for all I care.
You could call Charizard OG.
Also, like, we put a version of it on the channel, but like, Imul and Wanderer is actually like a thing.
What's
What's real?
okay?
And it just got better.
The Emerald King over here. All
Yeah,
right?
I
Come on,
agree.
man.
I agree. All 3 of us on this podcast like Imul. Like,
I started it though.
Because-
I started in Charizard format. Then.
as did I, Mike. But you did make the Blazer combo with that kind of stuff. But like,
And the
Imul,
Jupiter turn 2. Oh,
Imul's
Real.
definitely a card, especially considering the fact that we have Flute. So like now we can like float double white on our opponent's turn 1 after playing a turn 1 Flute. Like that's a thing. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff that you can do in Wanderer. I think my first like actual foray into Wanderer will probably be a new take on Imul because I love that ruler, and I have an uber Japanese one, which is awesome.
Imul's so sick.
Just kind
Imul's so sick.
and I have an Imul playmat, so I can just totally flaunt on people.
Beautiful.
So, I think at this point in time we are nearing the end. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and do the giveaway. So if you are in the chat, we're gonna go ahead and close the poll real quick because we'll do that. Close, end the poll. You are playing. Does it give me the results of the poll? I think Imul was 47%. Shion was 47%. So yes, you are playing Shion in the Wanderer
Talk to
event.
Joey.
Yeah, there you go. Go talk to Joey. Oh yes, Shion 47%. Adelbert Wanderer Control was 23%. Old School Yig was 23%, and Prissia Basket was 5%. So
Jeremy, what's Prissia Basket?
it's like why flip red green Prissia when we can just have resonance triggers? Like
I like
Red,
that
white,
idea
and
a
red.
little bit.
Yeah,
though. I'm not gonna
like
lie.
the green Mike Paul played it on the channel, and like what if the Guardian Dragon flips a stone and hits a red green stone, and then you're like, ah, cool, like that has swiftness and flying now.
9.
Yeah, take 9.
Turn 1. 9.
Also
Haha, damage go brr.
with Isis, suddenly Magic Stone of Reincarnation is a Pot of Greed.
Which allows you to draw 2 new cards from your deck and add
Yeah.
them to your hand.
Yeah, exactly, for free, free.
Like Pot of Green.
Free.
You can take 2 cards from the top of your deck and add them both to your hand.
That's what that card does.
Therefore, reducing the number of cards in your deck by
That's
2,
what that card does.
increasing the number of cards in your hand by
2.
and placing
Yeah.
a card into the graveyard, which increases the amount of cards in your graveyard by,
By
1.
one.
Pot of Greed's a very
Yes.
simple card.
Yes. So
It's 2 words.
that being said, let's go to what we're gonna give away tonight. So we're gonna have a little bit of time. If you're in the chat, anybody can enter. Or sorry, if you're in the United States, you can enter the giveaway for tonight. And just give me with the new ban list, what ruler you are most excited to look into with the new ban list for Wanderer. So I'm looking for those answers. Give them to me. Gimme. Or no one's gonna answer. No one's gonna enter.
I did it. I've had
Imul. Yeah, okay.
Is that 5 entries or is that
No, that's just one entry. Speaking of Imul, Patrick's
So
excited for Imul.
let's talk about Prissia Basket for half a second because
Sure.
we just got Trishula. Trishula's great for that deck. Also, we just got Eternal +2/+2. Oh, you try and kill my stuff? Nope.
Seems decent.
Seems alright. Seems okay.
High Fizz doesn't know.
You know what? I might just
will say-
do the entire poll and just play Imul at this point.
Speaking
Although
Wanderer,
I should probably get the new set so I can get the smile. But
speaking of Wanderer, Mike has a job to do. So we look forward to being able to report the progress of this to all of you. Mike's project with the new Wanderer ban list is Mike is going to be building us a Scheherazade deck if only Scheherazade was unbanned. So current ban list, we just take Sherry off of it. And we are going to be doing some little experimentation to see, we might do some matches on the channel, we might do some internal testing on it. What would that look like in the current environment? And is there any reason to try to say like, nah, maybe we can finally hashtag unban Sherry?
I will break Sherry. I'll find a way.
That's your that's your assignment, Mike. You have that assignment, right? Ender Game says all of them.
If we just unban, like, just...
So we leave Severing Winds on the ban list. We leave Otherworld Dreams on the ban list. Everything stays. Sherry herself just gets to come off.
I feel like there's something stupid with Ruined Story Loops that's gonna go ham, but
we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. That being said, we have
that out easy.
we have our entries. So here we go. Here's our answer. Our winner for tonight is Robert Green. Congratulations, you are our winner.
Congrats, buddy.
So we're gonna do I'm gonna type it in here. rulerschoolcontent@gmail.com. So ban all story cards and sure. Nah, the only thing we're looking at right now is just unbanning Sherry. So Robert Green
is in fact a story.
Quick cast control, let's go.
Unban Otherworld Dreams, cowards. No. So yeah, Robert Green, go ahead and email us at rulerschoolcontent@gmail.com with your name and address and everything else. Thanks to CCG Prime, and we will get those promos sent out to you. Thank you guys so much for that. What's up? Another one? Yeah, back-to-back wins, baby. That being said, again, as Mike leaves and makes my face look all weird on screen, consider clicking that join button down below to support us here on the channel.
So well for so
long. And be sure to sign up for those 2 GPs coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're looking forward to doing those for you guys.
Is one of those the Wanderer one?
No, neither of these is the Wanderer one.
When is Wanderer? So I know
that's in April. The one in April.
I'll take off from school. Anyway.
So I don't think Lumia is not banned in Wanderer.
Oh, definitely not.
Vampire 999. She's not banned in Wanderer. Yeah,
the
she
only
came
banned rulers are Yggdrasil. No, sorry,
Scheherazade, Feetsing, Carlina, and that's it. Those are the only 3.
Yeah.
That being said,
look, they're all green.
Hey-o. That being said, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I have been DMO73, and I've been joined as always by Paul Reisman.
Megazord Golem, let's go!
And Mike Rants.
Little Lumia. Oh, I move.
And until next time, this is us saying, class dismissed.